All right. Hello, hello, everybody watching out there in the internet world. This is another. MagicFlix Live. We had to reschedule this from Saturday, so thank you all for coming. We are recording this, and it'll be posted on the Facebook page for anyone that could not make it out. So let me see. We had a couple of questions from people who wanted to ask some general questions about MagicFlix before we got started, but it looks like it did not show up yet in the webinar chat, so we'll save that for the end or for another time. Quick updates. So the website has been going through some construction stuff. Some of you have noticed that, so thank you all for reaching out. We're taking care of it as soon as we can, and then we're putting up the new UI back up in a couple of days. So those of you who have been asking about that, thank you for letting us know and for keeping in touch. Secondly, we've been putting up some really exciting new content. Put up the new a new zombie ball routine. That's it's a new content from Jeb Sherrill. His volume 2 of his zombie reanimated and a couple of other things. So check those out. And yeah, I just got word from Niels Dunker, who was on a couple of weeks ago, that he has started production of his cruise ship, his booking cruise ships thing that he said that he was going to be putting up on MagicFlix. He'll be doing a multi-episode thing about booking cruise ships. So that'll be super useful for anyone who wants to do that. And then what else do we have going on? Well, we've got more of these. It's not official yet. We haven't put a Facebook event up for it yet, but go ahead and keep an eye on July 11th. Keep your July 11th open, because I heard through the grapevine that we might have Justin Miller on here to talk about creating your own magic. So that will be a super, super fun event. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guy for today. Now, a lot of you have seen him before. You've seen him in a couple of different places. If you recognize this guy, it could be from Masters of Illusion, where he did several features there. Don't Blink, The Late Show with James Corden, and a bit part in the Tom Hanks movie, Charlie Wilson's War. Guys, please welcome William Draven.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys here this afternoon. And welcome to this live seminar on how to get gigs and keep clients. I wanted to come on here with you folks and kind of share some of the business bits of show business and how to put yourself out there, some tricks of the trade, and kind of answer any questions that you guys might have regarding how to make money using your hobby as your profession. So a little bit of background on me and what I've been doing the last 2 decades. I went professional as a magician when I was 15 years old. I had sold a concept to a local pizza parlor in my hometown called Little Caesars. And I called the program Pizza Pizza Magic Magic. And I convinced the store owner to let me deliver pizzas that summer. And when I delivered the pizza, I'd do a little 5-minute magic show and hand out flyers for whatever specials they had running that week, and I'd keep the tips. As I recall, I made bank that summer for being 16 and barely able to drive. So from there, it just bloomed and blossomed, and I've done everything from TV to trade shows to corporate events to private gigs, etc. And a lot of the stuff that I've cultivated over the last 2 decades has kind of gone into a little PDF form ebook that I released a few years ago on Theory 11's self-publishing platform, The Wire, called How to Get Gigs and Keep Clients. So that's what we're going to talk about today. While we're doing this, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat down there, and I will.
Yeah, let me throw myself back in here just for a second.
Sure.
Say if you guys have questions, yeah, definitely put them in the chat here, or let's just do a roll call for people who are watching on the video. Even if you guys leave a comment for us down on the video, that'd be really helpful because that'll show more people that we're live. The algorithm sort of works that way. So drop a comment with a couple of words in it. Feel free to share the video or share the Facebook group. Try to pull some more people in. Obviously, this is being recorded. It will stay up. Hey, Brandon, how are you? We got Brandon Williams watching. We got some great Ace Miles, Craig Means. Craig, you were the one that had a question from before, and you didn't put it in there yet, man. Daniel Chen, welcome back, man. Drew, Frank, Greg, and we're seeing Keith. We're looking at people right now that are actually in the Zoom room with us or in the webinar. You guys can drop your comments right down in the chat. And those of you who are watching live on Facebook, yeah, please drop a comment there and feel free to share and draw more people in to watch the video. And I will be keeping an eye on comments and questions on my phone. So if you have one, drop it in and I will address it to Draven ASAP. All right, you ready?
Let's roll.
Let's roll.
All right.
Get those notepads ready, guys.
Yeah, let's take some notes on this stuff too, because there's some information here you probably going to want to write down. So the first thing I want to talk about that a lot of people might or might not be doing right is business cards. Business cards, there are two schools of thought with business cards. One is you hand them out like water, and anyone and everyone you meet, you get a business card in their hands. The other school of thought is you are handing business cards out to qualified clients. We'll talk a little bit about what qualification is. My background outside of being a performer and a magician predominantly comes from sales and marketing. And I used to work for a data sales company back in the early 2000 years, 2002 to 2007. So if you ever got any spam messages or robocalls, I'm sorry, I'm responsible for selling your data. But business cards is essential to getting your information out there to people. And my mentor in the sales office would only hand out business cards to people that he was absolutely certain he would be doing business with. Cherry picking, I guess, as you would call it. And I'm not too sure that that practice is probably the best practice to keep. So I think when you have business cards, you should be giving out to anyone, everyone that is interested in talking to you. Now, the business card, there's a couple different ways you could go about creating one. The problem that we run into is that clients, when you hand them a business card, most of the time these things will sit in their wallet for a day or two until they get done with the convention or wherever that is that they met you at. They look at it and then they throw it away. And that doesn't do you any good. So when you when you give somebody your business card, anything you can do to make them want to hold on to it really is more helpful to you. I recommend on your business card that you have your picture. That way people can look at the card and they remember your face. As a magician, your brand is you. You're not like Target, you're not like Walmart, you don't have maybe you do have a logo, but it's very rare do we see one of us being a household name. So if you put your picture or a caricature of yourself in your business card, it helps people connect that card to who you are. And that way, when they pull it back out a week later or so, they remember, oh, I was talking to Kent, I was talking to Brandon, I was talking about magic, and they happen to mention they know how to do magic or they're an entertainer. Let me call them. If you receive a business card from somebody, write down on the business card, on the back of the business card, what it is that you were discussing, especially if you put out numbers or promos like first booking 10% off or whatever. write that stuff down on the back of the business card that you receive from them. So when you look at it, you remember them. I can't tell you how many trade shows I've done, and I come home with a stack of business cards from the trade show, and you're going through it, and 3 days later, and 100 business cards in your hand, you don't remember who you talked to, or what you talked about, and that's unnerving.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And if I can jump in here, when you get a
sure.
business card like that, it's like, if you receive one from somebody, that's great. But if you in the moment that you do that, I got a great tip from a friend of mine back in the day. Oh geez, I can't remember who gave this tip to me, but it's a great tip. If somebody's giving you their business card or taking your card, then it's implying that they have something in mind for you right away, right? So if you ask them, "Oh, do you have an event in mind that is coming up?" Right? You're very likely to at that point, and then you can write down that information, and you can be proactive in following up with them rather than hoping that they don't toss you in the back of their drawer, right?
Right. Um, on your business cards, when you so you have your profile picture, your headshot, your caricature. If you use a logo, um, make sure that logo, and I saw the comment in chats, branding is important. Make sure that logo is branded to you and is available across all platforms, your social media, your website, etc., because you're standing behind that logo. Um, so that's important. So other than that, your name, either you're using a stage name or you're doing business as or whatever. Make sure your name's on that card, a nice, big, easy to read, bold font, um, and your title. Now, let's discuss your title. Nobody wants to hire a magician. It doesn't sound interesting. It doesn't sell. um, if you had an option, if you go into the yellow pages and you a pipe breaks in your kitchen and you have to have a plumber come out to fix the broken pipe, and there are two listings in the yellow pages. One is for a plumber and one is for a master plumber. Which one are you going to call? You're going to call the master plumber. Doesn't matter if the plumber has more experience, has more tools, or is better outfitted to handle your specific problem. The master plumber, those are selling words, and those are the words that draw your attention to that specific entry. And that's the person you're going to call. So on your business card, try to avoid using generic titles: entertainer, magician, MC. And I know in our craft, there's a lot of people that kind of poo poo the idea of calling yourself a master magician. They're like, you're not Jeff McBride. You're not Lance Burton. How dare you call yourself a master magician? Well, if you're a hobbyist, maybe that's a little bit of a faux pas. But if you're out there making money, calling yourself the master of your craft isn't a bad way to market yourself. Now, if you feel bad about using master magician as a title, maybe you're a master entertainer, or maybe you're a magician extraordinaire. Maybe you're a powerful prestidigitator. You want something that draws the attention of your client or your potential client to that card, and it makes the connection in their mind. Oh, this is a magician, a performer, is a master entertainer. Um, this is who I want to call if I need somebody for my company's workshop or my company's um, my company's business, um, party, etc. Whatever it is that you do. Um, so try to keep your title flashy. Try to keep it entertaining. Try to keep it interesting. Um, in that way that reinforces your branding. Um, what information do you put on a business card? It's a great question. Nowadays, in today, in the market, since everything is all cyber, um, physical addresses are really a thing of the past. Um, I would only be putting down your direct line, your cell phone, or your phone number to how to get to your direct office if you have a landline, um, your email address, and your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube. Those would be the big three. LinkedIn, maybe. if you're a corporate guy and you're trying to get into the corporate networks, LinkedIn is a good one to have. Um, but your big three is going to be Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
So can you tell us a little bit of the difference between those platforms that you're talking about? Like, for instance, you just
Sure.
mentioned that that LinkedIn is good for the corporate workers, but maybe YouTube is better for something else, and Facebook is better for something else, etc.
Sure. So, and that's a great question, Kent. Thanks for popping in on that.
I heard that like somebody once described the different social media platforms like this. They said like that I can't remember what it was, but it was something like uh, Facebook is where you update people, Instagram is what you're doing, Twitter is what you're thinking, that kind of thing. So I imagine there's got to be some sort of way of thinking about this in those terms for the different platforms. Is there?
Sure. So, and I saw Brandon Williams makes a comment in the chat. IG to me is a beautiful visual resume, and I think he's probably hit the nail on the head with Instagram. Instagram is great as sort of showing people in real quick references, visuals on what your craft is. Um, 15-second video clips, pictures of what you do on stage, off stage, backstage, etc. Instagram is kind of a behind the scenes peek into you as a performer and the message or the brand you want to put out on yourself. Facebook is pretty much the digital calling card of people these days, because it is a repository of information on how to get in contact with you. Um, it gives you a platform for addressing your thoughts and your viewpoints and your concerns, or your company's viewpoints and concerns. Um, and it's just sort of the lobby, kind of like the virtual lobby where everyone just kind of rubs elbows in, kind of an online mixer, if you will. YouTube is important in that it gives you a place to have links ready of demo videos, sizzle reels, routines, acts, anything that a client says, hey, can you send me dot dot dot, you can go into YouTube and you can pull out a link. It doesn't have to be a public link. You can make videos on YouTube private so that only you with the link can see them. So if you share the link with somebody, now they can see them. So your information is not completely out there in the wide open inner space. Um, but it's a great way of giving producers access to what you can do. Um, LinkedIn is more corporate. Facebook and LinkedIn can do the same thing, but corporate LinkedIn is more suit and tie. It's more of a virtual online resume, what you've done, who you've done it for, etc. It's of the three major platforms, it's the one I don't use as much because I don't do a lot of corporate stuff anymore. I'm more theme park and private parties. Um, the only other one that in the social platforms that you'll see people use a lot is Twitter, and I think you are correct with Twitter. Twitter is just kind of what you're thinking in 150 characters or less. Um, Twitter is good for people that want to follow you because anyone can follow anyone on Twitter, unless you block somebody. But then again, I guess the same could be said for any other platform too. So. Um,
And I
I would
want to take a second to
go ahead.
point out, because this is all really good information. None of these, you'll notice, are a 100% go-to big secret for booking. What I've noticed about this so far is that a lot of this stuff is I'm sure there's some, like, here are specific things to do during gigs or whatever coming up, but the what I'm noticing about this is all of this is a way to sort of cut just a little bit of the fat and just up your likelihood of getting that booking by like 1%. You know, and if you do this here and do this here and do this here, you will start to notice the improvements that you're making. There's no golden egg here.
That is true. Um, I wish there was a single magical wand you could wave, and all of a sudden all the stuff comes in there, all the gigs come floating in. It doesn't work that way, um, but it does present a better image of a more put together performer in the client's eye when they see that you have a social media presence, a website, a professional email address, such Draven at williamdraven.com, be an example. If your client is emailing you at that one guy 79 at yahoo.com, you know, especially on the higher end stuff, that can be a warning sign for higher end clients. They may not want to do business with you. Brandon asked in the chat room, have I ever gotten performance gigs on LinkedIn? Yes. Yes, I have. One time, I had a client that was a trade show, a fan-based trade convention out of Southern California that saw on LinkedIn that I had put together programs for another show called Anime Expo in Southern California. And they hired me to produce a burlesque and magic show for their convention as well. And they contacted me through LinkedIn. Not the majority of my business, most of my business doesn't come through LinkedIn. That was sort of, I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't have that profile present. So it kind of ties back into what Kent was saying. It creates a better overall image. So on your business card, definitely you should have your social media stuff on there. Fax numbers. I got a mentor of mine that swears by fax numbers. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think I maybe had 2 clients in the last decade really communicate through fax. Most of it's all done through emails these days or text messages if you're really being informal about it. So, putting fax numbers on business cards, maybe not the best way to go. And also in your business cards, I would recommend, since we're still on the subject of business cards, I'd recommend only printing on the front side of the card. Leave the back side blank and white. There's a couple reasons for this. When you get a business card too, make sure you spend the money to get a high quality paper stock, card stock. Get the glossy UV finish. Spend a little extra money on your business cards. It never ceases to amaze me the number of magicians that I talk to that will proudly tell you, yeah, I spent $300 on this illusion, or I just bought a brand new XYZ illusion for $5,000, or I just dropped $60 on this, this, and this. And you ask them, well, how much are you spending on your marketing? And they look at you like you've grown a second head. The amount of money that magicians spend on magic versus what they spend on acquiring performance venues to perform the magic in is inversely proportionate to each other, and that's backwards. You should be spending 80% of your money on marketing and marketing materials, and 20% on the magic you plan to do at some point in time in the future. So, you can go to vistaprint.com, you can go to, Staples or whatever. You can get some pretty decent cards at a decent price, but don't skimp on the value of the business card.
Great. We've got a question. I'd like
Yes.
to take a moment. We've got a question from Craig Means, and a comment from Brandon, and that same thing from before. You have illusionist seems to hold more weight to clients than magician.
Sure.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that? Like, I have actually had multiple occasions in the past couple of years where I'm doing magic for somebody, and I personally have no issue being called a magician or whatever, even if I'm doing mentalism. But they'll say, "So, what do you like to be called? Do you like to be called like, I mean, is it just like like a magician or like a magician? I mean, I don't want to insult you, but like, like,
Right. I think illusionist does sound better because I think magician is or has been I don't want to say tainted over the years by general pop culture, but everyone has an Uncle Bob, and the Uncle Bob stories in magic clubs, as sort of this generic, everyone knows somebody that does a card trick or two.
yeah, and they immediately take the deck from you at your gig and start dealing 3 piles of 7.
Seven, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, when people think of magician, they think of Uncle Bob, or that guy from Arrested Development. What's his name? Um,
It's
like,
the final countdown. I don't know
yeah,
what the guy's name is.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So,
so we do have an actual question here. If I
yes,
can just jump in. So Craig Means, great question. Do you suggest one specialty, or as an example, if you're a mentalist and also do kids shows, would that be a conflict on your card? He says conflict of interest, but I think he means, would that dullen you as a performer in the mind of your potential client?
right. That's a great question. At that point, I would say it really depends on what your branding is. I myself, I specialize in sideshow. I specialize in bizarre. I specialize in close up, which kind of close up's the umbrella, and it kind of branches off into sideshow and bizarre from there. Um, Really, it depends on where you're doing your most marketing. Know where your bread and butter is. My most of my work is in trade conventions, comic cons, anime expos, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So I would represent myself as a master entertainer, and then my social media would break it down into the different links. You don't want to put too many things on your business card. You don't want to list yourself as a kids performer and a close-up magician and a mentalist because you don't want to confuse the client.
And the consequence would be maybe that you're a jack of all trades, but master of
Of none.
not the one I want you for.
Right, right. So I would choose an umbrella term that that is comfortable for you, and then I would have my social media or my website broken up into representing the different packages that you offer. I offer a kids show. I offer a mentalist option for adults. I offer, balloon twisting at parties or whatever. And I will allow, I would qualify the client and direct them better as to what they're looking for on the website, but I would definitely not put all that information on your business card. I wouldn't want to confuse a client.
Oh, I was muted. Oh, so another question that we had, I was muted there for a second, is if we can see your card.
That's a really great question, and I made the damn thing disappear.
Okay, fun, super fun, great.
Uh,
All right.
right. Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm fidgeting in my seat because I literally had it at the start. In fact, actually, when we just got on the subject of business cards, I flashed it on the camera, and the damn thing disappeared on me.
It'll turn up at some point. But
Yeah,
so you're going through your entire basically giving us the Cliff Notes version of your ebook there. So
sure.
I know that you have a pathway for us. I'm not trying to divert too much away from that pathway. But the guy's name from Arrested Development, by the way, in case I know everyone's very curious, was Job.
Job, that's right. I
Was
want to say
Job.
Lot, but that didn't sound correct. Job.
So yeah. So what we'll do is I won't divert too much away from that topic until later. I have non-magic related questions for you later.
Sure.
But Yeah, for the time being, let's get right back on track with you
All
there.
right, let's press on.
Facebook thread for comments, guys. If you have questions, if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and just drop them right in the comment thread. I'm going to check them out right now.
So, Daniel, I'm sorry, Craig Means asked, kind of was talking about the kids show interest, the mentalist interest. That kind of is a perfect segue into the next little segment that we're going to talk about, which is handouts. What do you do to put your information in the hands of your potential clients? Your business card's sole purpose is for your client to remember who you are and how to contact you. But you can use rack cards, postcards, and flyers to specifically drill down what product you're marketing. So if you are doing kids shows, you'd have a kids show flyer or a rack card. They're relatively inexpensive to print, and you can get them literally by the hundreds. So you can put that in your little press package or your promo package and send those out to all your potential clients. And then you can track which ones are trending, which ones get you better results, and you can kind of use that analytics to figure out where your marketing should be. Brandon asked, can I talk about finding my ideal clients? Absolutely. We're going to talk about a subject called cold calling. And this makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Really, it all boils down to who do you want to work with? Who has money and who do you want to work with? If you're doing theater shows, then you should probably be going through and doing research online or in the yellow pages, generating a list on, and you can use Excel to put this list together of the name of the venue. Again, if we're looking at theaters, we're looking at theater names or clubs, and the phone number and the address. Then you're going to have two other categories on your spreadsheet. You're going to talk about your key contact, and you're going to have a section for notes because you're going to have to take a lot of those. And you're going to generate yourself a list of areas that you want to work with. If you're a kids show magician, then you're going to generate a list of places that work with kids. Any place that has children coming through for whatever reason, Chuck E. Cheese's, dentist, schools. Did I really say yellow pages? What am I too old school for you guys? Yes, yellow pages.
Yeah, you have dated yourself there.
I did. I
Now,
absolutely did.
if I can actually direct this in a way that I think will be really useful, like let's give people a
Sure.
practical example. So, your cold calling obviously is an absolutely terrifying thing to do, and oftentimes, if you don't have a particular goal in mind, if you're just like, I do shows, right, and you're just
Right.
like, give me money for shows. That was kind of my approach.
Right.
And it's so heartbreaking. I once it had to be 45 or 50 hours of cold calls to book a single stage show. It was a single $500 gig that I had to drive several hours to get to. And if I had had some consultation before that, maybe I would have been more successful. But
Sure.
let's bring it in. So obviously you need something to offer these people. If you
Sure.
mentioned, you're a kids show performer and you want to perform, you want to market yourself to the customers of a dentist. Okay, so it was an example you gave, right?
Sure.
Go to the dentist, and you're going to call the dentist and say, what are you going to say to the dentist? I'm really curious.
Well, so the dentist, what you're basically doing is you're asking to get your information in their lobby. See if they'll let you partner, let you drop flyers off or something. If you're really doing, to give you an example with the cold calling, this is an actual script that I have used. And Michael asked, do you use a script? Absolutely. You script that stuff out in advance. You make sure you know your script and the questions that can be asked of you in advance before you even get on the phone. So let's say that you're a restaurant magician and you want to work 3 days a week doing restaurants. You're going to compile a list of all the local restaurants in town. Um, you're going to want to know if they're corporate or privately owned. I'd put that little information in the notes, and you're going to call them up and you're going to ask to talk to the general manager. So, the phone rings, they pick up, thank you for calling Applebee's. You ask to talk to the general manager. Um, at that point in time, they ask you, why are you calling? You don't give them, don't pitch the wrong person. The person answering the phone is not qualified to give you a yes or a no. So just get to the general manager and talk to them. If they ask why you're calling, no big deal. I just want to talk to the manager. Um, and then you're going to basically tell them, hey, I'm an entertainer. I specialize in bringing people to restaurants and improving your business on days that are typically slow for you. And I want to do a show in your restaurant, work table to table, and I want to improve your business and improve, in the process, I get paid for this. Is this something that you want to do? Um, and that kind of opens the doors to dialogue. Either the restaurant's going to tell you straight off the bat, no, we're not interested, we don't do this, or it's going to be, okay, what can you do? Um, when you talk to these clients, especially with restaurants, you want to make sure that you're framing your work as what you can do for them. Um, because that's at the end of the day, that's what they care about. What can you do for me? I don't care if you know how to do card tricks. What can your card tricks do for my business? Well, I can do card tricks on nights that you typically don't have a lot of business. I can make people come here. People come in, we can do a drink buy where they have to buy 2 drinks minimum, or they have dinner or whatever. It improves your revenue. Um, and it makes it more enticing for them to want to get a hold of you, for them to want to book you. Um, Reading the comments here, do you use a script? Yes, you absolutely use a script for cold calling, and be prepared for objections. I would write down 10 objections that you can think of them asking or saying to you. Like, what do you say if somebody tells you they don't have money? What do they say? They don't do magicians, or they don't have entertainment walk around.
Okay, so here's the test. Here's the test.
Sure.
Um, Everyone in here is afraid of cold calling in one way or another. So I'm going to
Sure.
ask Draven a question. He's going to give an answer to this. But while I ask that question, go ahead and in the Facebook, in the comments on this video right below us, or off to the side depending on how you're watching, or in the chat room over here, give us an objection to that you can think of that Draven may have encountered said objection before and might be able to give you some practical advice based on your question. So and secondly, I want you guys to notice while he's talking about this that the first thing that he is saying to them is something that is self-interested for them. So something that can benefit them. It's, what is your slow day? And I'd like to try to help you generate some more business on your slow day. That kind of thing. You're taking into account something that they want and approaching them with that, and how you can help them achieve their goal. Now, that's going to help you along the way, of course. Of course, everyone knows that. But if it's at no cost, if it's a good deal, that's really, that sounds like that's what the goal is really here, is to get their attention with self-interest.
Absolutely.
Okay, Draven, the question that I have for you while they do this, while they get their objections ready, is, so this is back to business card. This is actually from Michael Aslan. He did it in the proper Q&A format here. Would you put your main profile picture, I guess he means your Facebook picture or any kind of social media picture, on your business card? But then how would you reference your other shows? He says that he does he does 2 main shows, but a bunch of different shows as well. So how do you differentiate online between your shows and yourself? And would you put the same picture on your business card that you have on your social media?
It's a great question. I would use I would use more of a corporate approach on your card. I would have a more professional looking, maybe a suit and tie or something that represents you on a business minded aspect. And then I would have your websites and your social media split it out into your characters or into the different things that you do. For example, if you're a magician but you're also a clown, um, or you're and you do mentalism, I would have a again a more professional picture on the business card, and then clowning and mentalism and whatever on the websites. Um, that way, I think most clients understand character. I think most clients understand that if you while you're on stage, you're presenting a character or a performance type. And I think that people that book those types of acts appreciate working with a professional on the back end too. Does that make sense? Does that I hope that answers that question.
Did that answer your question, Michael, or did I even represent your question accurately? Well, he'll get back to us. It was
Sure,
good information either way. So
sure,
here we have some objections here. Can you can address these? I'm sending out a couple of messages to some people who wanted to join us.
sure. So Josh or John, is it John? It's cut off. Okay, yeah, John. John Nolander says the objection is sorry, but you cost too much. Yeah, John, I understand that you've probably worked with magicians before in the past, and I understand that what I'm asking for might be outside of your budget. But let's do this. What if I cut you a deal right now? You bring me in tomorrow. I'll give you tomorrow absolutely free. I'll just make what I make in tips, and that way you have a chance to evaluate me at no risk to you or your business. If it works out, the following day, let's sit down, let's have a conversation, and let's talk about your budgeting needs, and let's see if we can't put something into works that we can both mutually agree on. Does that sound like something you'd like to do? You see what I did right there? Not only did I overcome your objection, but I ended it with an actionable question. Is that something you'd want to do? Now your choice is either tell me to piss off, or yeah, okay, that sounds great. Let's move forward.
So it sounds to me like a priority that you. Or I have a question. Would you call it a priority of yours to get to the no, or get to the yes, or obviously we're aiming for yes, but every time that you've talked about whenever somebody has an objection, you're pushing through it and trying to, you've always mentioned that they might just say, no, screw you, like, or just no, just flat out no, we have X objections that you can't address, or we've got corporate overlords that say no, and we are not allowed to give you their contact information, X,
Sure.
Y, and Z, right? So, is something is there merit in just simply getting to that no?
Yes. You don't want to waste time. You never want to waste time when you're doing cold calls. Remember, these people aren't clients yet. It's not a warm environment. They didn't call you. You're calling them. So you want to get to an answer, a qualified answer, as quickly as you can. Um, you don't want to waste your time. So if they straight up say no, we're not interested, great. You put them in a callback file. You call them back in 6 months. If they say we are corporate controlled, and you'll see this going back to restaurants, Applebee's is a great example. Applebee's is corporate controlled. They do sometimes have entertainers come in and work tables, but it's almost always a private franchise at that point because the corporate office doesn't normally do that. So if it's corporate controlled, now you got to call another number. You got to go through another series of gatekeepers just to get approval for that. And sometimes it's not worth chasing that kind of lead. That's good information to have from them. Um, it's a numbers game. when you're doing this type of marketing approach, it's a numbers game. It's not about getting a yes or a no. It's about getting in front of as many people as you can, and then getting that information and then filtering it out. You're a no, so you're going to get called back in 6 months. You guys are warms. You're maybe, so now do I have to come in person and talk to you in person? Do I have to work you, massage you? What do I got to do? And then yeses are straight another category. That's straight into booking from there. Um,
I
Phil,
found an objection. I found an objection.
sure.
Somebody posted. I want to give some love to the Facebook page. So somebody on the Facebook page put out a question, which was, oh, here there was an objection. Here's the objection. We already have a balloon twister.
That's a damn good objection. What do? You're moving into somebody else's territory. The first thing I would ask in that is I would want to know if they already use entertainment. Um, because once they're like, we already have somebody that does this, now you're fighting for a slice of that pie. You can attack this question or subjection a couple different ways. Um, you can either try to undercut them. Great, I'll charge you 20% less if you give me the business, which is kind of rude to the other guy because it's his work too. But business is business. Or you can ask them, okay, what days does he work? And then if he's only doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe you do Wednesdays and Fridays. Um, so there's ways of getting around that. And if they're using that as a way to blow you off, meaning they just don't want to work with you, um, you can try to even rebuttal and try to go lower on cut your cost a little bit to see if you can't get the gig. Just get your foot in the door. Um, is always an option as well. Great
Right.
objection, though.
I got a really good one here from Phil Ackerley in the webinar chat.
Yeah,
Big objection. That's not technically an objection, but it's not getting to the GM.
yeah,
You've got a VM or a gatekeeper, some kind of gatekeeper situation that you have to
yeah.
get by. How do you manage that?
Yeah, Phil, I was trying. I have your question highlighted on my chat over here. I wanted to address that. Nothing is more frustrating than getting a gatekeeper or getting the constant drop to voicemail. Here's my rule of thumb: unless I have a rapport with you personally, I don't leave voicemail. I will never leave voicemail because if they don't know you and they don't know why you're calling, the first 5 seconds is usually all is more. There's like 3 seconds longer than they give you. They hang up. So if you can't get through to the GM, try going in person. Most of the time you can get out of the front desk or the gatekeeper when the GM is going to be there. What hours do they work? So you get that information out and then you show up in person. It's a little bit harder to hang up on you or transfer you to voicemail when you're standing right in front of them. And I would show up in a suit and tie, or I would show up as professional as you can look, based upon your character or what your act is or what show you present. Um, but don't waste your time with voicemail and don't waste your time with gatekeepers. In sales, in the world of sales, um, there's a really politically incorrect term. It's called "don't pitch the bitch." And excuse my language, and I don't agree with the vocabulary, but the idea is sound. Is you don't want to pitch somebody that isn't qualified to tell you yes or no. Don't waste your time with them. Um, at that point, it's just better to hang up and try again. Great
Right.
question.
So I'll keep an eye on the questions here, but if you
Sure.
want, do you have another couple minutes of wisdom to give to us?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're only. I didn't expect the cold calling to take as long as it did. I think we are only about a third into my prepared notes.
Well, look, it's a big deal. So here we'll keep on trucking through, and we'll see where we get.
Sure. So, a question that pops up in chat is explain why you cost so much. Explain what the value is. Absolutely. Um, when you are selling yourself, you know, you are the brand, and you want to make sure the client understands why it is that they're paying every penny that they're paying. I mean, it's the same thing as you can buy a Toyota, or you can buy a Mercedes. Why does a Mercedes cost $40,000 more? You know, so absolutely, when you're explaining to the client, explain to them what it is that you do that they're not going to get anywhere else, and that is something that will help keep you keep coming back, keep them coming back. You keep booking you over and over again. Um, so I once you have the gig, let's just kind of move forward here a little bit, and you know, talk a little bit about what you do once you actually have the gig. Um, I've seen people just show up and do the show. There's actually some pre-work that goes into this. You should be calling your client, confirming your gigs at least twice. Once the day before, and usually once confirming that the gig has come through. Deposits, I don't know if you guys take deposits. You probably should, especially if you're booking parties or you're doing larger work. Maybe not so much for restaurant stuff, but if you're doing corporate or trade shows, that helps lock in the commitment. That way they don't. Um, that way your time is you're covered in case they decide to cancel, or something goes funny. Um, Contracts. You know, I used to not use them, and after getting burned a couple of times, all right, John, good to see you next time. Contracts, I would absolutely send contracts out, and in your contract, highlight everything that you have discussed, everything that you said you're going to do, everything they said they're going to provide, and send that to them prior to considering the gig actually formally booked. It's always good to know um, what everyone's committing to when you get to the show. I cannot tell you how many times how annoying it is to show up and be setting up and have the client come over to you and say, "Oh, by the way, you're not doing the stage anymore. We want you to walk around and do 4 hours of strolling magic," when they booked you to do, you know, MC work and a stage show. Or, you know, they're like, "Oh, can you not do the straitjacket escape because my aunt Emma was in an insane asylum for a few years and she doesn't like straitjackets," or insert whatever reason here. You know, 5 minutes to you going on stage is not the time to be having that conversation with the client. Um,
Well, I got a
so
great question here.
yes,
Sorry to interrupt your flow there, but great question on the Facebook feed from Anthony, and this is actually this jumps back a little bit to cold calling,
sure.
but at what point? This is from Anthony Wayne Edie, I believe is how you say your name. You can let me know, buddy. At what point do you accept the no and move on? How many times do you try to rebut before it's just like, yeah, there's got to be some underlying issue here that they're not actually telling me?
Anthony, good to have you in the chat and watching tonight. Hope you and the fam are doing good and staying safe. Um, 3 times. Three's the lucky number. First no is reactionary, and I think we all have that reactionary. You know, no, I'm not interested, without even processing what it is that the offer is. I could call you up and be like, "Hey, I want to give you $500 right now." "No, I'm not interested." No strings attached. Seriously, $500. I said no. No, no, no. You don't understand. This is a philanthropy thing. I have 500 cash in my hand right now. All you have to do is take it from me. No strings attached. And if they say no that third time, then it's a dead lead. Um, I would put them in a callback file. I'd call them back 6 to 8 months later. Um, but usually, uh, by the time you get to that third no, you've probably qualified them well enough to know, even then, if you're going to call them back in 6 to 8 months, you know what you're looking at. It could be a very much a 3 second conversation.
Nice. Yeah, great question. All right, so keep on keeping on, man. I'll keep an eye on the chat. If anybody wants to ask a question to Draven, this could be literally about anything
Sure.
related to booking gigs, keeping work, keeping clients. We've done a lot of good work on the cold call. Actually, Draven, I've been meaning to tell you
Yes.
where I got you set up there. We've got laser beams across your face. So
Yeah.
if you're when you're leaning forward, we've got you're like you get all striped when you're leaning back, and we can see your face. So you can control that special effect for us. Just want to
Right.
make you aware of it. Um, you look like you're charging up a Kamehameha.
Right. You never know. I might
He's
just
just
be
about to go Super Saiyan, guys.
right. Um, so contracts. We're going back on the contracts thing. Another little note on the contracts too is using a tech writer on your contracts. And this is something that I learned from watching and reading about celebrities and bands and how they request M&Ms in their dressing room, like all only green M&Ms. And that seems so outlandish until you realize why they do it. If you're giving a client a bunch of technical list of things that you need to be able um, to do the show for them, and they miss something silly like M&Ms in the dressing room, what else have they missed? So, thanks, Keith. I'm glad that you're getting a lot out of this. Um, so with your tech writer, it doesn't hurt to. Uh, sorry, I'm reading the comments. ADD. Tech writer doesn't hurt to have requests in there as well. That seem that like helps you make sure they're paying attention to what you need. Um, Last thing I really want to touch on here, because I only got a couple minutes left, is
Oh,
what to do.
we can go long. We are
Oh, can we
not.
go long?
Yeah, we can absolutely go long. We're
Oh,
good.
fantastic. Um, what do you do after you've got the gig? You know, you've booked the gig, you've called them, you've got them to say yes, you've done your pre-show work, you've called them and verified, they've responded by giving you a deposit, they've signed and sent back a contract saying that they're going to pay you on X date and at X time, X amount. You're going to provide this, this, and this. They're going to give you this, this, and that. You show up, you do your thing, everyone's happy. You go home, you cash the check, it clears. What do you do? How do you keep them coming back? Um, the show's not done just because you walk off stage. And I think it's important to realize that there's some aftercare. Um, it seems so old school, and maybe I'm dating myself again by saying this, but thank you cards. They cost very little. Go down to Hallmark and pick up a stack of them. Very little cost, but it means so much to people to open up a letter and just, hey, thank you for your business. I really appreciate that you chose me. Um, you have no end of options in entertainment, especially in depending on where you live. Like in Vegas, magicians out here are a dime a dozen. There's over 600 of us in Vegas alone. Los Angeles is just the same. Um, so, acknowledging that, hey, you have options and you chose me. And I'm really appreciative of your business. Thank you. Um, when's the next show? When's your next event? When can I call you back? Um, and that kind of helps. That kind of helps grease the wheels for the next time. A follow-up phone call is handy. I've been known to leave a postcard behind, and on the front of the postcard, it's self-addressed. The stamp is already licked and stuck on the front. It goes right to my PO box. And on the back of the postcard is a series of questions. Rate me 1 to 5. How was my professionalism? How was my show? Was I entertaining? Notes and comments. And I will leave that with the organizer or whoever booked me. And I tell them this is my review card. If you work in a tourism-based city like Las Vegas, you've heard of TripAdvisor, uh, Yelp even. Yelp nowadays can kill a business if they get bad reviews. So can TripAdvisor. You might want to even put TripAdvisor on your business cards, a link to TripAdvisor or a link to Yelp, and encourage your clients. Hey, uh, write me a review, give me a testimonial. And you should be collecting testimonials from everyone. That way, when people book you, um, you can use that in your marketing, in your press package. Um, and by the way, with testimonials, the way you organize them, just FYI, dignitaries and celebrities you always list first. Your second listing are going to be professionals, CEOs, C-level executives, business owners, etc. And then the third prioritized testimonials are going to be anyone else. Um, and with testimonials, the first couple testimonials that are shown up on your website or your promotional marketing material, short and sweet, and then they get longer as you build out and list more and more. But you definitely should be getting testimonials from the people that you're working with, um, and then call them back. I would call them back within 72 hours, and just, hey, did you get my thank you card? Just want to call and make sure that you enjoyed the show. Was everything what you thought it would be? What can I do the next time to to better serve you? And this is going to open up conversations with them, which leads into another booking, because you're always trying to angle them in that direction. Thank you next. Where do we go from here? I'm going to kind of go back in the chat here real quick. Keith has got, what if a client says how much they like you verbally, but they don't write a letter or email, so you have a physical copy? Um, you know, you that's a good question. Um, you don't want to press on them too much. I would call them up again. This would happen in my follow up phone call after a week or two have gone by and I haven't gotten back that postcard yet. I would just ask them if they received the postcard. Sometimes receptionists or assistants get it, and it never makes it on the desk of the person that hired you. So just bringing it to their attention that, hey, I sent you something, I didn't get it back. Um, and they're busy too. So it's oh, okay, let me get that right out to you. If it never comes in, I would still take a verbal and write down a verbal. To give you a classic example, and there's no way I can ever prove this, but I was in a movie um, called Charlie Wilson's War, starring Tom Hanks, and I had a scene with Tom and Ned Beatty. I got the gig because of a card trick. And in my testimonials, I think I quote Tom Hanks as saying, "What are you, a wizard?" Exclamation mark, question mark. And that was a quote directly from Tom after seeing a card trick done on set. And that led into the scene with Tom and the director getting involved, and it was absolutely crazy. Um, Tom never gave me a written referral on that. It's just always been something that I've always had on my marketing since then. Um, and if they don't email, and if they don't email you a physical copy, or they don't email you a digital copy, or they don't send you a physical copy, um, then you know what, that's okay too. I would still call them back. I would still try to get the booking from them, um, and go from there. And then the next time you do the show, um, send them another one, and hopefully the second time they'll send one through.
So here's a question from Facebook from Maliki. Actually, it's a suggestion, but I'll form it into a question. Would it be better to offer on your thing or on your card afterwards that I think he means on your survey card? Yeah. Would it be better on your survey card to offer them some kind of discount for the next show, assuming that they assume that card back to you?
That's a great thing. Remember when I said at the start of this, your business cards leave the back blank? There's a lot of reasons why you leave your back of your business card blank. You can put in a discount. Uh, 10% off your first booking. You can put in a referral fee. I get 15% kickback for people that confirm dropping your name. You can write in a personal comp, like one free ticket or 2 free tickets to the next show on me, and do a little smiley face and hand it to them. You could do an out to lunch principle using a blank business card to do a little miracle for them in their hands. So they have a little magical experience to remember you by. There's a lot that you can put on the back of the business card, and absolutely giving them some kind of comp or a spiff or an incentive to engage you is a really good idea.
Great. So, sorry, just checking in on the chat here. Oh, from wait. This is, you answered this already from Keith, correct? About
Yes.
the verbal versus physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, based on the logic that I was hearing there, and again, I don't mind. Do you guys do you? If you've ever been around any celebrity, there's a good chance that they have never met. There's a good chance that they wouldn't have remembered you had you done something for them. I mean, they meet so many people, and they
Right.
say so many things to those so many people. So, I mean, if you're good and you find yourself in a place where you've just, you're having trouble getting quotes, I'm not saying, buff up your resume, but I mean, it'd be real hard to get caught.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Uh, and going back to the celebrities in the comments thing, I did get a private message that's dinged in here. Paul Draper is watching us right now.
Oh yeah, Paul's watching, and we
Yeah.
had McBride
Oh,
watching
Jeff,
earlier. I think
fantastic.
he's off doing Mystery School Monday, by the way. If you guys are,
That's a
uh,
great.
yeah, go check that out afterwards. Once we finish up here in maybe 15, 20 minutes,
Sure.
and then Mystery School Monday goes, and they've got some really great guests over there too. So definitely check them out.
I tell you, the lasers in here, Kent, are freaking blinding me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the. He's set. In case you don't know, guys, he's set up in my living room. We're properly socially distancing with the blinds were not killing him with laser beams when we set him
When we
up.
started, yeah, the sun's at just the wrong position in the horizon. So, anyways, Paul Draper sent me a message privately asking me if I made the final cut in the movie Charlie Wilson's War. I did not make the final cut. That was my first experience with the cutting room floor in Hollywood. Um, so,
Actually, speaking of Paul, Paul wrote a nice question for you here. I don't remember if you answered this one, but what is the key? What is the key to working with mostly volunteer organizations with money for their yearly events? This is like a whole topic.
oh my Lord, we can. This is a can of worms I'm trepidatious about getting into because this could be a lecture onto its own right. Um, when what is the key? The key is
I'll give us a couple
convincing.
of things.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. The key is convincing them to see value in using you and paying you for your services. Um, so when you're dealing with like trade conventions, and I know where Paul's asking, I know Paul's background and where he's asking this because Paul has worked with me on a few anime conventions.
While you answer this, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to fix those blinds.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm trying to bounce around and it's just, oh, there we go. Maybe. Okay.
Oh, we could have just done this.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Hey, we did it.
Yay.
All right.
I'm gonna bring Paul's question. Get out of here, goofball. I'm gonna bring Paul's question up again so I can look back at this. Working mostly volunteer organizations with money at their yearly events. You need to convince them that you're worth spending money on, and that's not something they want to do. They don't. they get a lot of volunteer help, and they need to see the value in using you as a paid professional. And again, it goes back to what can you do for them? What services can you provide them that a volunteer isn't going to be able to do? Um, so, case in point, uh, I produce a show called Myth, Legends of Burlesque and Magic for the nation's largest anime convention called Anime Expo in Los Angeles, California. Myth ran from 2013 to 2018, and over that 5 year span, I had performers from literally all over the world come in and come on stage and do amazing performances. Um, Initially, AX did not want to pay to have people perform. They were quite content getting general people from their fan base who wear their costumes. It's called cosplay. Put them in cosplay, have them go up on stage and have them do something silly for 5 minutes in an open mic type environment. And I had to tell them, you don't want to do that. People are not going to be entertained. You want to have a better. You're AX. You're the world's large. You're the America's largest anime convention. You are Comic Con to anime. You need a you're a higher class event. You need a higher class presentation, and to get a higher class presentation, you need to hire uh, professionals. We can put professionals in cosplay. That's not a problem. What I can't do is take an amateur who has never been on stage before. I can't make them a better performer. Um, so you need to hire people to do this. And these places, these organizations, they have money. Man, do they have money. They're just very frugal about how they want to spend it. Charity organizations are also notorious for this. Come donate, your time to this charity event, and you get a tax write-off, but they're not going to pay you. The reality is, they're making money. They have money. You just need to convince them to spend it on you. And that goes into qualifying who you're talking to. Make sure you're talking to the people that can make decisions. Asking them straight up, hey, are you the person that hires talent? Do you have the ability to hire talent? I normally get paid for this. This is what I get paid for. Is this something that we can build into the budget? What kind of budget do you have? If we can't afford this, what can we afford? What can we do to help each other out? And I do want to stress right now, not all forms of payment is financial. Let me repeat that. Not all forms of payment is financial. If you can get going back again to a trade conventions, something the size of Comic-Con that literally has hundreds of thousands of people coming in to this niche market over a course of 4 days, if you can get your website and your marketing material in their hands, the amount of bookings that you can generate off of that single event is insane. So maybe you do a free show for them in exchange for having them print your flyer in their program guide. You see what I'm saying? So even if they're not going to pay cash, at least make sure you get something out of them that's beneficial for you. Paul, I hope I answered that question.
And that's excellent advice. Not all payment is in the form of cash. Yeah, so we're exchanging value.
Yes. And go ahead.
Well, there's this trope that people get really upset when it's like the word is exposure, and exposure gets sort of lumped into this big category of anything that you're going to do for me that isn't giving me cash.
Right.
And there's a sort of like distaste for that idea. If it's purely exposure and it's like we're going to put you in front of an audience and you don't get to do anything else, obviously that's bullshit. But if you get to arrange something such that you get value out of it in a different way, then exposure's sometimes better than cash.
Let's get a hold of this subject real quick. Let's get into this can of worms, because I'm going to piss some people off with this, and I have no problems doing that. Um, Working for exposure is not a sin. You just need to know when it's not a sin. If you're starting out in Magic, if you're starting out working as a professional, you don't have the resume, you don't have the demo reel, you don't have the sizzle reel, you don't have the references, you don't have uh, anything really but a business card, a couple flyers, and an act. You need stage time. You need to get in front of as many people as you can so you have the opportunity to screw up as many ways as possible so you can refine yourself and make yourself a better presenter.
This is a great point. When you're a beginner, exposure is priceless.
Exactly.
And experience.
And experience. And that's the big thing. So, you can't compete with other people who are charging thousands of dollars to go do a show. But what you can do is do it for free. Get on stage and get the experience. So I want to, at the risk of pissing people off, dispel this myth of performing for exposure is a bad thing. You should never do just exposure. No, there is a time and a place, and performing for exposure, especially when you're starting out, is a great way to get essentially what you need to do to start making the money in the future. Also, it's a great tool to get in the door with somebody, um, especially if the client's really kind of rocky about, hey, I don't know if I want to have a magician. We've never done magicians before in the past. I mean, we usually have bands come up at the club and they play for a couple of hours on the stage, but we've never done a strolling magician or a bar magician. Well, great, fantastic. I'll work for free. Give me a day, give me 2 days, whatever is beneficial for you. Try me out. See if this works. If it does, let's go forward with something else. Let's talk about payment. Um, but performing for exposure isn't a sin.
Right. All right. Well, let's see if we can't cover one more of the topics that you have there, and we'll
Sure.
take maybe another 10 minutes to do so, 5 or 10 minutes. Take some more questions, and then it sounds to me, because this is such an interesting and deep topic, that we are definitely going to need to do a number two.
I think we absolutely will, and I'll let you guys write in and kind of shape what number two is going to be. You
Sure.
guys want more cold calling information? I know somebody asked about scripts. There is a script in my ebook, How to Get Gigs and Keep Clients. I would be more than glad to run through a scenario with a script with you guys. Let me know what do you want in part two. We'll discuss and we'll get that going.
Amazing. All right. Well, hit us with some more knowledge, and
Yeah,
we'll take a couple more questions. I'm keeping an eye on both the Facebook chat or the Facebook
sure.
comment thread, and on the. You can either do it officially through the Q&A function here on Zoom, or you can throw it right into the chat. I'm keeping an eye on all of that, and
Sure.
take it away, Draven.
Sure. So the last thing I want to talk about is social media awareness. And this kind of ties into branding. You need to be very, very conscious about the kind of content that you're putting out on social media. And I am probably the worst offender of this myself, and something I even need to strive to be better at. But people are not stupid, especially people that book client or book entertainment. Um, Looking at my Instagram right now. See. So what happens is when you get in front of a client and you're pitching yourself for your product, which is yourself, they're going to Google you. They're going to type in your name in a search bar. They're going to hit enter, and they're going to go to your social media, whether they did it from your business card, your flyer, your email, or whether or not they're just doing it because they're curious. They're going to look you up, and you need to be aware of what you're putting out on social media. I strongly urge people to avoid the three major no-nos: politics, religion, and and sports. Um, and sports seems kind of silly, but if you've got a client that's a huge Packers fan and you're nothing but talking trash about the Packers, you could cost yourself some business. People take their religion and their politics very, very seriously. You could cost yourself a bit of business. Um, I've personally seen it happen before, where somebody that I knew quite personally got on their social media, fellow performer, and they posted a large um, rant about religion and how much they were against it. Um, they were scheduled to work a fair that was produced by a local church for their youth services, and they lost the gig um, uh, because the client looked them up on their website, followed them to their social media link through their website, and saw the anti-religion post and canceled them. Raccoons, so raccoons are okay. Cats and raccoons, absolutely. You can't go wrong. Uh, um, so, especially if you're representing a brand, like if you have a personal Facebook page or a personal, Instagram channel or whatever, maybe, you might be able to get away with a little bit more on that. But, whatever you're representing on your website, on your business cards, whatever, you need to make sure that is as meticulous with what you put out there as you can make it. Um, hope that
Okay,
makes
social media awareness. Anyone?
Yeah.
We'll see if we have any questions about what we've just heard. And
Um, I'm going to bounce back to the business cards here because I wrote a note down on my notepad over here.
sure.
Um, Make sure if you're working venues, if you're working parties, if you've been hired by a party contractor to do an event or something, if you're working restaurants, make sure you talk to the event planner before you go in there about handing out your material, because sometimes event planners do not want you doing that.
Right.
Um, Same thing with tips. Um, Working for tips is fine. Taking tips is fine unless the event planner doesn't want you doing that, in which case you can get yourself 80, you get yourself 86 out of a job real fast
Mm,
if they catch
right.
that. Um,
So these would be things that you definitely want to cover with your event planner before before you're before you're in the middle of the gig, before you make that mistake.
and when you're booking your gigs, really you're having a couple different conversations. First there's the conversation to get to the key contact you should be talking to. There's the conversation with the key contact about why they want to hire you. Once you've been hired, there's a conversation about how it is you're going to execute your agreed upon terms, what you expect, what they expect, um, and that should come up in that. This is what I do. This is the environment. Do you want me handing out cards? Do you want me handing at soliciting for tips or anything? Because in restaurant work, a lot of times they'll tell you no, because all tips is split between the servers and the bartenders. So you'll get a cut of that, but you're not allowed to take away from that.
Got
Um,
it. Okay, so look, I think what we'll do. I have one final question for you. It looks like we have exhausted the questions in the video. If I or in the Facebook comments, if I missed one, please forgive me. We'll save it for installation number 2, and if or episode 2 of Draven. And if I look like it looks like we've got all the questions from the chat here, which is good. All right, so a couple of quick announcements before we finish up with one last question from me. Actually, no, I have 2 more questions. I want
oh,
to do one of them now and one of them after. Do
okay.
you have any recommendations for tools that people could use to write contracts?
Yes. Um, there you can go on Google and you can type in tech writers and performance contracts, and there are templates galore that you can use to customize specifically what works for you. Essentially, you want to basically clarify the date that you're performing, the time that you're performing, how much you're being paid to perform, and if it's not a financial amount, what that payment is. Is it marketing? Is it free car? Is it whatever? What do you get out of it? What you're doing for them. So write that, be very specific about that. I'm doing an hour strolling magic, an hour stage show, balloon twisting for 3 hours, whatever.
Right.
Include your tech writer. I need a stage of wireless Countryman microphone. I need a private dressing room with a bowl of green M&Ms, no brown M&Ms, whatever. Be very concise on the details.
Sure.
Include a cancellation policy. Cancellation. They have up to 72 hours or 48 hours to cancel the contract with no penalty. If they cancel outside of that time frame, then the deposit is non-refundable. How much is the deposit? Your contract is basically every detail that you've discussed about the gig in written format, and then you sign it and they sign it and you're good to go.
Great.
You could have it legal. You could go to a lawyer and pay a legal fee to have a lawyer create a contract for you. But I would just go. I use a template. My template
Perfect.
was right out of Google.
Great. Okay, great. So a couple of quick announcements for people before we finish up here. We have Eileen, Edie said bye, August. Saw August walking in the background there. So guys, if you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, Draven is going to be filming in the MagicFlix Studios a multi-part series on just this topic, where he dives a little more specifically into the topics that we already discussed. So we'll be seeing more on cold calling, maybe some more practical how to do that grind, rather than sort of the overhead that we're getting here. Obviously,
Sure.
in number 2, we'll be covering more topics, but if you want to see Draven giving those lectures online in a way that you can reference them over and over again with all of the nitty-gritty details, go to magicflix.com. If you're not already a member, you can become a member for free today for 30 days. Okay, it's only $10 a month. You use the promo code MAGIC. You just type in MAGIC when you're checking out, and you get your first 30 days for free. Check out the Greater Magic Video Library, the IMS. We got a bunch of really classic, great stuff on there, and a couple of new, really modern things too that we've been working on. So go over there, check that out. Super cool. Now, Draven, where can we support you first of all, and I'll give the final question.
Sure. So you can support me on social media. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, under the William Draven. As the
William Draven.
William Draven is the official page, and YouTube as well.
Okay, great. So I now have a final question for you.
Fantastic.
What is your favorite anime?
Wow.
Stumped him. Got him.
It's like taking a kid into a candy store and telling them what's your favorite flavor.
Sure.
There's so many to choose from. I'm going to probably lean on a tried and true classic, The Slayers.
The Slayers.
The Slayers.
I've literally never heard of it. Not that I'm an anime aficionado, but that's awesome. The Slayers. Where can we see the Slayers? Is this in Netflix?
You can find the old episodes probably on YouTube, or you can go. Funimation currently has the rights to it, so you can probably buy their subscription service, or Crunchyroll subscription service.
Crunchyroll. That's right.
You probably stream it from there, but it's like D&D as seen through the eyes of a bunch of murder hobos that that make fun of the classic high fantasy genre.
Murder hobos. That's not a term that I thought we'd be using today or tonight on the broadcast, but there you go. Murder hobos. If you want to see the D&D genre through the eyes of murder hobos, check out Slayers on Crunchyroll or maybe Netflix or wherever it is. Anyway, guys, I want to thank Draven for coming out. Thank you so much, Draven. Really appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure.
And guys, catch us next week. Oh, actually, next week we'll be off because we have the 4th of July. We'll be posting some new awesome content on MagicFlix. Maybe having one of those little jam sessions if people are interested. We had a good one a couple days ago. That was really fun. Maybe we'll do something sort of more casual. But yeah, definitely check back on July 11th where we will be featuring Justin Miller. I believe that's the Saturday, July 11th, but you can see it on the page. All right, so we will see everybody later. Thanks again, Draven.
Thanks, guys. Good night. God bless. Stay safe out there.
MagicFlix is the world's fastest growing online magic learning platform. From classic collections like the Greater Magic Video Library to the best in modern magic, MagicFlix is the only way to learn magic online in today's world. Use the promo code on your screen to start your no obligation free trial today.